Welcome to the Cockney Guide to Enlightenment podcast. My name's Stephen Rosen, and in this podcast we go beneath the surface of people's lives to find out what makes them tick. My own life I wrote about in this book, Lost in the Babylon. It's through childhood adversity, organised crime and a successful life as a businessman in the city. When I talk to people, we go beneath the surface of where they got to in their lives and we find out what really makes them tick. So if you want to follow me, connect to me with social media at Cockney Profit. And if you enjoy this podcast, please like it, subscribe or follow us and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Cockney Guide to Enlightenment podcast with me, Stephen Rosen, and my guest today, John Lawson. How you doing, John?
Really well, thanks, Steve. Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. Good to see you.
Brilliant to see you, and it's been a little while. I was saying just before when you turned up, it's probably, I don't know, a couple of years or something maybe, but...
I think so, yeah. I think it's good, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Mexico now and coming up 2 years, so it might be longer
really?
than that.
Probably a bit longer than that, yeah. I think we were sitting on the beach in a men's circle the last time we met.
Yeah, that's right. We've in Thorpe Bay. Was it Thorpe Bay?
Thorpe Bay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the first time we met, we was on the beach as well. We was going to the Mulberry Harbour to do a cold water swim.
Yeah, we walked down, didn't we, to Mulberry Harbour? Yeah. So that was good. No, it's it's good to see you again. Really, really nice to see you, and just to be able to share my journey with you as well will be nice for everyone.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you. Taking the time out of your day and just making this connection, because I think it was obviously, it was one of those conversations that, just as we started talking before you got here, there was so much coming out. I was like, quick, let's get the mics going, because this is interesting. So, John, maybe you can let people just kind of know where your journey come from, because you're obviously a Michelin star chef, are you?
Yeah.
You are, yeah, and you're a restaurateur.
Yep.
You're also been living in Mexico recently, and you get some projects going there, which we'll get into. But where did you start? Where did you start kind of before you got into your career, your chefing career? What was your kind of upbringing like?
Yeah, I came pretty much, Steve, from like humble beginnings, really. My family, I grew up in Wickford, in Essex. Locally, and started working in a pub, washing up.
I've done a bit of that, kitchen portering years ago when I was young, yeah.
Did that for 2 or 3 years to get a bit of money, and I was playing football at the time, and I loved football. I was really wanting to be a professional footballer. So years went on. I think it was 17 at the time, we sort of 16, 17, about to leave school, and I needed to make a decision what I was going to do. And there was no scouts coming in, or there was a couple, but it's kind of potluck with that world. And I really enjoyed working in that pub, and also by that stage I was doing starters and desserts, and I was giving more responsibility because I was very able to do the work. Very confident, very dedicated, very loyal. So they gave me a lot of responsibility as a young man. Where
did that kind of work ethic come from? Was that do you think passed down from your parents, or was that just in you?
Yeah, no, from my parents. Yeah. Me, my brother and sister, we've all got that. And it was this, also, if we wanted a pair of trainers, we needed to buy it ourselves. Yeah. It was that kind of... Yeah, and it's definitely kept me in good stead throughout my career, this work ethic, And so I decided that I really, I need to make a decision. At that stage, I wasn't in love with food as much as I am now, but I knew I was good at it, I was competent at it. Yeah. And I was talking to a few people, my mum was talking to a few people about what colleges to go to and stuff to study catering. And Westminster College in London came up as one of the best there is. They did a chef's diploma. The ones that are local in Chelmsford, Southend, didn't do that, and it wasn't as extensive, and it wasn't a diploma. So, I got in there.
How old was you there, John, roughly?
17.
17, yeah.
I got in there. So that was 5 days a week, full time. So I travelled into London. And there it really started for me, this passion. I started to learn. It was around French technique. So it was really inspiring because a lot of the food we were creating was challenging, but it was like highly technical gastronomy.
Yeah.
You know, that Michelin star, that high level in London, and I hadn't been exposed to that before. So it was a big challenge, but also I was out of Essex. I was like seeing something new. I was seeing something different. I was meeting new people. I was 17 and socialising. It expanded my my world.
Yeah.
And
So Wickford to London, central London, is a different ballgame completely, isn't it?
It really is. And as a young man, it was a really important step. I did that. So I did 3 years there, and weekends I changed and I worked at a restaurant here in Chelmsford, which is now closed. It was a waterfront place. It was basically one of the best restaurants in Essex at the time, and did Friday, Saturday nights there. So I used to come home from college and go straight there, and sometimes I used to do Wednesday nights, and then also still play football on a Sunday. So because I was at college, I wasn't earning money, but I needed to still earn money and pay for, travel and all that sort of stuff. So that was a hard 3 years, but a lot of learning, a lot of growth. And then after that, I got an opportunity to go work at Le Manoir Quat'Saisons in Oxford.
Right.
So this is Raymond Blanc's 2-star Michelin restaurant and a hotel, beautiful place in the countryside in Oxfordshire. So this was about leaving home. I was 20, I would have been 20 at the time.
20, so you've been studying for 3 years, doing a bit of work.
Yeah. So leaving home and going to live there. And a friend of mine was also thinking about doing the same. And we went together. Was that,
I was just thinking, like, the people that you studied with on your course, I mean, was you different to them? Obviously, you're very dedicated by the sounds of it, but was that the sort of opportunities everyone was having, or was that something that was just kind of fell in your lap? How was that created, that opportunity?
Yeah, there was a mix. When we started the course, there was probably about 150 people enrolled.
Right.
Within the first 2 or 3 months, that would have halved. So you needed to be dedicated, like you said, and focused.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a college course, like a check in, check out kind of thing. No, you needed to turn up every day. It was discipline from the start. And it was difficult at times because I was also travelling and sometimes I might be getting late. So I had to be really organised to make sure I'm on time. So yeah, you're right. It was, I was dedicated. I was focused.
Yeah.
So it created opportunities for me. Even within those 3 years, I went and done, like stages, they call them, where you do like work experience in hotels in London. Claridge's Hotel.
Right, okay.
Savoy was another one where I did. But you don't get those opportunities unless they trust you, because it's obviously you're representing the college as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. I think that's how it is, isn't it? You have to work. You have to work hard, but you also need to like show trust.
Yeah. So the opportunities were there if you was putting the work in, and obviously they could spot, I imagine, talent, and they could spot, people that was going to come through or had the potential to come through. Exactly.
I think they were ex chefs at that level.
Right.
The lecturers, they were very. There was one guy who's called Mr. Innes. He was like a walking dictionary, honestly, of gastronomy.
Yeah.
Never forget him. He was super funny, but I really connected with him because he just had so much knowledge about, French gastronomy, about techniques, about chefs, about how to do things. And I still, to the day, I'm still always thinking about what he used to say to me, So these kind of these kind of teachings, these kind of teachers, these kind of, you know, this wasn't here in Essex. That's why I went there. You know, you need to go and find that knowledge, and that's what it is really. It's not necessarily the college per se. They're the same, right? The teachers will go to the best college, so it's like you have to always find what's working for you and go and move towards that, and sometimes get out that comfort zone, you know.
Yeah, and I think you got to go to your edge, haven't you? And then, and as you say, step into that and put yourself in different environments and I think, you know, my understanding of the word luck now is just preparedness meets opportunity, you know. So you prepare yourself to the best of your ability, and then an opportunity arises, and then boom, you hit it, and then people go, "Oh, yeah, that was lucky, wasn't it?" And depends on your perspective, but
that is exactly it. You know, you earn your luck, don't you?
Yeah, you can make it.
Yeah. So opportunities came from that, and that's been my journey. I went to then work for Raymond Blanc in Oxfordshire. That was an incredible. That was the foundation of where I learned. Yeah, I went to college, but working in a restaurant, and actually your first job, full-time job, where there was no compromising. There was no compromising in the level and the standard of the food that needed to be there. It was a 2-star Michelin, but in its own right, it was a 3-star like no other.
Right.
There's certain political, like there's a certain amount of numbers of covers you need to do to get a 3-star, and you know, and these kind of things. It was doing more than it needed to be, but in terms of what we were doing, there was 3-star food, which was like the highest rating establishment you can get. And internally in the kitchen, how the ethos was around development and growth and learning was incredible. But it was hard. It wasn't like a school where they were like, you know, everything was softly. This was going back, you know, like it's 15. This was like nearly 20 years ago. So this was going back. Yeah, it was like 20. I was 20 years old. I'm 41 now. This was going back in the olden days in that industry, older days in the industry where, you know, you were shouted at. You were, basically things were thrown at you.
Really? Wow.
If it wasn't to the level, and, you know, it makes or breaks you. And there was many people in that. I was there for 3 years. There's many people within that time. They couldn't deal with it, and they just walk out. They got thrown out. They couldn't deal with the pressure. It was a hot pot, like a real.
Yeah.
But what I loved about it was that nothing was ever done or said without the intention of you being better.
What do you think that working in that environment and learning in that environment, I mean, from a point of view, you said you come from quite kind of humble background, so I imagine that, you know, you wasn't exposed to that sort of level of pressure and abuse, you know, because, you know, let's look at it for what it is. It's you know, it's like the carrot and the stick, but there's a lot of stick there from the sounds of it. Yeah. So, I mean, how did you manage that? I mean, how did you cope with that? Did you just accept it? Did you toughen up? Did you, you know, did it affect you in any way? I mean, you've mentioned that some people left and some people got thrown out, and I think, you know, when we look back with a lens today on that sort of stuff, and as I said to you, you know, when I had a business, I couldn't dream of, you know, talking to people like that or behaving like that. And so I'm just interested from the point of view of, like, you know, mental health and emotional well-being. Did it really affect you, or did it just prepare you for going forward and what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think at that stage, I was 21. Mental health wasn't really spoken about like it is now. So there was that. I was young. I was brought up very well disciplined, in terms of, like, I was disciplined. Like, my parents, I wasn't able to, you know, get away with stuff. So I could handle that environment. There was no problem in that environment for me, because I knew I had confidence in my ability that if I was going to make a sauce, for instance, that the recipe is there, that I'm going to make it the right way, and then I'm going to get it tested. There was people doing things like, you know, for instance, if you make a sauce, it needed to get checked. If it didn't get checked and you're serving it in the service and the chef would taste it, he would be like, did you get this checked with one of the sous chefs? And then they would be like, no, sorry, I didn't have time. Then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
So it's also about the rules, making sure that you can find in the rules. And the reason why the rules are there, like you would get it checked, is because the sauce needs to taste a certain way. So for me, it was logic. There wasn't anything like... There was also things in service. If you couldn't keep up with the speed, then, you know, there would be sometimes, you know, some kind of... You know, I've also been pulled up on the past by the head chef because I wasn't able to... you know, I overcooked the pigeon,
Right.
which was human error. I did it wrong, but it did make me more aware of, not making sure that pigeon is overcooked. Do I agree with that way of doing it? No, of course not. But that's how it used to be in those days. The level of awareness was not there. So I don't look back in that time and go, oh, you know, it should have been like this, it should have been like that. Yeah, no, it wasn't in that stage of evolution of where we were at. Now the industry is in a different place. Still goes on, I'm sure, a little bit, but people are more aware of that. It's not, and also chefs don't tolerate it.
Yeah.
They won't work. So I look back, I could handle it. Many people couldn't. Probably because of my upbringing, for sure.
Yeah.
But I looked at it as like I really wanted to. I knew this place was going to teach me a lot. I have very good intuition to what, you know, and I connected. I had good personal skills. I could connect with the chefs, and they wouldn't. Yeah, I had some bad. I made some mistakes, you know, but you know, some people also didn't have the skill to be able to. The ability to be able to, I don't know, connect with their sous chef or the head chef. So then it was really hard for them. But for me, I was able to, and I was at a level where I did as I was told.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And to some extent, it is a bit like the army.
It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
is.
what
It's regimented.
The mental picture I had of like, you know, the sergeant major throwing his weight around.
Yeah, it is like that.
Yeah.
There needs to be an element of hierarchy in a kitchen at that level. But it can be done another way, like I do in my restaurant.
I was going to say, yeah, because that was one of the interesting things, and that's why I kind of went down that route, because I remember when we met, you know, maybe the last time we met, you was talking about, you know, achieving that standard without the abusive environment that you know, that you was subject to and part of in your training and your experience. So
yeah, no, I mean, fast forward a bit. I went to America and I worked for Ramsay. So I ended up going there to work for Ramsay, which was a whole nother experience. I
mean, even in his TV show, you can see that, you can imagine what he was like off camera.
Yeah.
When he was, you know, before he was doing all of that in his kitchens. I can imagine what that was like.
Well, I started his first restaurant hotel outside of the UK. It was in New York, so I opened that with a team there, and it was his first one. It was a big one for him. He wanted to get like big stars in New York. He wanted to be the man there. You know, a lot of ego, and it was just.
I never would have noticed that about Ramsay, the ego.
Yeah, no, of course not. But like. So that was a real experience I wanted to be involved in. I never really liked his style of food. I was more coming from the place of like, Raymond Blanc, where you grow it and it's more natural, and the way things are plated and it's more about nature. But Ramsay's, the way his food is a bit more rigid and a bit more structured. But the way he is as a businessman and the way he was successful. I wanted to like,
Yeah.
and I was in New York and I was just loving New York, and I wanted to kind of just experience that as well. So so there was that, and then just getting to your point about, I learned it was the same thing in Ramsay's really, but there was less humanness behind the discipline, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so without so much of that connection that you spoke about earlier.
Yeah, it was. I was baffled when someone would. So like, I went as a chef de partie, which is kind of like middle level if no one knows. Then you have like sous chef, then you have head chef, the kind of the levels. So the sous chef would say something to me, like, that's not good enough, it needs to be better. But I would be like, well, why? What is it? Because I always want to be in that learning mentality, and it's like, what is that? So a lot of that's just how it is. It's how we're told, and that's how it is. So don't ask.
There's no evolution there, just criticism.
Yeah. So I never understood that, because for me it was like, well, surely like there's got to be a reason why, but they didn't know, because that's how we did it, which I couldn't connect to, because for me it was like, all right, but why am I doing this then? So why does it need to taste like that? If it doesn't go with the dish like that, then so I couldn't wrap if I know why, then cool, like that's great.
So I mean, it sounds like what you're talking about is their level of conditioning that they've been exposed to and then conformed to.
Yeah.
Without even questioning what's behind this, what are we getting out of this, and I suppose that is conditioning, isn't it?
And also there might have been people in positions there that shouldn't have been. So there's that. There was, he's expanding at that time quite rapidly, and things later got very complicated for him. So there was also people in sous chef positions that shouldn't have been in the sous chef position. Right. So there was always this. I eventually ended up going into that position quite quickly, and I was always about that. I wanted, you start explaining why to do things and connecting with people in a deeper way. But so my journey started, I was learning all of these things, how not to be, and to experience those things. So eventually, I did a few years in New York, and then I had an opportunity. I went to Australia with Gordon.
Right.
And that was a whole nother experience, opening his hotel there. Similar problems, not the right training, opening a massive hotel, 655 bedroom hotel, 3 restaurants. It was the biggest challenge of my life. It was, there was no structure. There was myself, Josh Emmett, who was the exec chef. I was the head chef at that time. And it was very challenging. I had 60 chefs underneath. Yeah. So I had to learn a lot on my feet, how to manage people properly. How to design menus with Josh. It was also unionised. It was very difficult. But again, it was just an experience that I just jumped into. I just jumped into it.
So when did you kind of like start thinking about, opening your own thing or doing your own thing?
Well, so there about a couple of years went by there, and he ended up going into liquidation. He couldn't support it anymore. Right. Expenses were too much. Business was great, but it was just the business model was not right. And then the hotel Crown Resorts offered me my own restaurant there on the riverside. So they had a restaurant, and they basically needed it to be revamped. And it was called Number 8, so they put my name on it, Number 8 by John Lawson. And then they had this young guy, myself, that was well connected in the industry there in Melbourne. They were a casino. Their name was not very well in the hospitality industry. Their name was not very good, let's say. Yeah. They were a casino. It was all about money. Yeah. So they wanted me in there to change that narrative. So yeah, incredible opportunity to have my name on the door there. It wasn't my environment. I realised it wasn't my environment. Going into these key meetings and it's all about numbers, it's all about money. And essentially, you know, like a year and a half later, I had a brain tumour, diagnosed a seizure. I had a seizure. I got rushed to hospital.
While you was in that position?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I had a biopsy.
And how old was you then? What sort of age?
32.
32, wow.
32, nearly coming up to 10 years ago. Yeah, I had a biopsy. I had bleeding on my brain for the biopsy, so they hit a nerve in my brain. Yeah, and things just changed. I couldn't talk. I had no memory for a good couple of months. I was basically like in the bed. Could see everything going on. My family came over from the UK, and I just couldn't talk. I wasn't able to talk. So there's that part of my brain that was basically had a lot of swelling that wasn't able to talk.
How was you feeling through that experience? What was your...
I was just breaking down, Steve. Yeah, I was really emotional. It was really hard to see my family because no one knew actually what was going to happen. There was no, there was swelling of the brain, essentially that's what it was.
Yeah.
So whether that was going to, when it stopped swelling, what I would be like, no one would really know. But also just memory, you know, like I didn't know, I knew it was my mum, I knew it was my sister, my partner, all of that, but I couldn't say their name.
Mm.
So it was super weird. I lost all cognitive, learning how to read and write. I had to go through therapy with that months after that. It was about 6 months to a year of in-house therapy.
In fear in this experience, or was it you in acceptance in it? It's like obviously the external stuff that's happening is terrifying to anyone looking in, but I imagine what's it like looking out of that sort of stuff? What was your awareness like? What was your consciousness like there?
I think I was just in the moment, Steve.
Right.
And I was quite scared because I didn't know I didn't know whether I would be able to be back. I really didn't think I would be back to normal like how I am today, how I was.
Mm.
I just didn't know, and that was very scary and fearful. But after a period of time, I got my head around that, and I just worked on the fact that, am I improving every day? And there were signs of that. There was signs of speech coming back.
Yeah.
One thing that was I look back and laugh, there would always be a menu from the nurse would bring around, what food would you want? And I would just point. I wasn't able to say. But I could feel myself always pointing at, the same thing. But I started to be able to talk, like, whatever it was, like a burrito or something. And then I started to realise that, that's coming back.
Yeah.
And so I started, wasn't easy at all, but I started to just be present in that because I didn't know what was going to happen or anything else.
Interesting that the food connection there.
Yeah.
With your learning to reconnect again with your voice and your senses. So it was, I think food's always played an incredible part of my life since an early age, and I think like the hardest thing for me was at that stage where they do tests on you, when you put you in this room and you basically got to make a cup of tea. The steps of making a cup of tea, which is like normally boil the kettle, get your teacup out, get your tea bag, get your milk. I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't coordinate that. And I was just like, I broke down. I was crying, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And it was, I don't know really, it's all a bit blurry because
yeah, it was like there was no, yeah, there was obviously feelings there, but I was just so like in the moment of what I was dealing with, and there was just a lot of fear coming up, and I was just scared. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, and also seeing my parents like that, yeah, it was just really difficult for them as well. And I was just smiling, trying to be strong for them, but ultimately, yeah, that unknown, that unknown was very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating, isn't it? Where these things, when you get through them and you look at them, like, how suddenly life changes, how suddenly, your whole trajectory of life, your whole idea of having control and agency over your life can just change in an instant. And
Yeah.
and I wonder how, obviously, getting through that experience, which you have done, and I imagine there was a lot of rehabilitation with that. But I wonder what impression that left on you coming out the other side of that. How was you? Was you kind of determined to do something, or did it really wake you up to, the depth of life, or what was your, if you kind of, at that stage had or was it just like just getting through that gradually, a sort of gradual consistency of getting well?
Yeah, it was definitely a gradual rehabilitation over they say the brain takes about 2 to 4 years for the brain to settle after a major operation. And immediately after, it took me, it was about 6 months before I can even have an operation. So I had an operation after that to take the tumour out. So that was just the biopsy.
Right.
So the operation was very straightforward. The biopsy, they made a mistake, and it easily happened. They hit a vein, and that caused a lot of the brain damage, and I had like a mini stroke. So after that, the operation, I actually went back to the restaurant. It was quite remarkable. It was about 2 months after the operation. I went back in on a return to work plan. As soon as I got back there, bearing in mind, this is what I created, this restaurant, my concept, my team, my philosophy, my values, to a certain extent within the hotel, shared values. I walked back in there and I was just like, I don't want this anymore. I had the feeling of just, separation. And just the whole...
And was that like, did you feel capable of doing it, or did you feel like it wasn't something that you just moved on and it was...
Well,
it was not of value to you anymore?
Yeah, well, cognitively, I was not the same. So no, I wasn't able to do that anymore, because the role was, I had a head chef in there. I was an exec chef for my own place. My role was mainly menus, making sure the standard of food and all of that. But it was high-level conversations in these corporate meetings, which was just draining my energy. I was not that person, but I was on a lot of money. I was sold the dream. I was on MasterChef out there. They raised my profile, and that was the world I'd been sold. So when I got back in there, I realised that's not what I want. It's not who I am. And cognitively, I wasn't able to hold my own in those conversations anymore, because it was a complete disconnect now.
Yeah.
When before there was disconnect, but I was doing it because like I was in the world and this money was good and blah, blah, blah. So now I was just not interested in any of that. So I had that conversation with the general manager, who's basically the partner in the restaurant. And, I said, I can't do it anymore. I just can't be involved in this. So we worked out separation package, and I went my separate ways. But then I was in, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to do, because the brain was still settling. There was clearly a an awakening going on of who I am, and a shift. And I believe what happened to me was a grace from God, that I was not where I should be. And I woke up, but what I wanted, everything was coming to me. There was many opportunities. Even 5 months afterwards, I flew to France and I was an ambassador for Moet Chandon, and I was applying to be the exec chef in Epernay in France. Everything was coming my way, but I wasn't connecting with it. And I didn't really know what I wanted. I knew I wanted food. I started to looking at food in a different light, in a way that it's going to heal me, not in the way that it's going to support other people's enjoyment. Two different things. Food for healing is a different way of how I've been cooking for other people and basically myself. So looking into it in a way where I started to look in foods for the brain, things like berries, omega-3s. I started there, and then I started getting deeper, and so I started to look in food differently, and I started to heal myself through my food. That's where it all began, and that's also where later when I opened my restaurant, that was the birth child of my restaurant. So that journey began straight away, because I thought, okay, I need to look after myself now. I need to give myself the best opportunity, not rely on the doctors, because they never really came up with any suitable solutions for it not to return, this tumour.
Right.
It was all about pharmaceuticals. It was all about chemo, potentially. It was all about just, things that I couldn't relate to in nature. So I started studying and looking into it myself. And I came up with some really fascinating, simple, natural healing methods, which is in nature.
Which have always been there, haven't they?
Which have always been there. And that no one's talking about. And I was just like, really? Like, you can just do that? And because actually a lot of it has just been distraction. A lot of it has been what I've been, stress.
Yeah.
Not aligned with, yourself in terms of, stress, food, environment, different energies you've been surrounding yourself with. Just disconnect with yourself essentially in many forms. So when you realise that, actually it's quite simple. But that's been a journey of 8 years, Steve, So.
Yeah, and I think it's like that, from that traumatic experience is quite often what is the opportunity for people to really take stock, isn't it? And just all of a sudden, I mean, I love the way he said you was not interested. It was like that whole kind of trajectory of energy of life was just like gone. Yeah. And then that leaves space for other stuff. So it's quite often that people on journeys and whether they're conscious of their journeys or not, we have to move stuff out of the way, let go of stuff, don't we, to enable room for this new stuff, this new studying, this new interest, this new curiosity in the same stuff, food, but from a completely different perspective. You was looking at it.
Yeah, and it really has been that, and it's that's still happening. I have the restaurant now. So later, I came back to the UK. I didn't know I needed to come back home. And when I say that, it's funny. Like, I come back home physically. Yeah. UK family, and also within myself. I needed to come back, and there was a lot of distraction in Australia. There was a lot of distraction in many forms of distraction, friends and food, and not positive. That I felt. I loved Melbourne. It was home. I was living there for 7 years. Never thought I would leave, but it was necessary to leave and to come back. When I came back here, I moved in with my sister here in Leigh-on-Sea, and again, I was looking at jobs and some work. I had a bit of money. I was not like desperate, but I needed to do something. I was depressed.
Was there any sense of like moving away from that prestige that you once held?
Oh yeah, I was definitely.
Was your ego kind of like, how was you rebalancing with that? Because you mentioned the journey about coming back home, and for me the journey of coming home kind of is moving away from the egotistical, not the big I am, so to speak, but just that need to kind of prop ourselves up, and that need for external qualification and external validation from people.
Yeah, exactly right. This was a tricky one, because where I've come from, I had a well-known, let's say, name established in Melbourne, and I've left it behind. So I come back here. No one knows me. I hadn't been here. I've been in America before. I hadn't been here for a decade, let's say. And what was happening was I was going to open my own place. The reason why I had to open my own place, because I couldn't work for anyone else.
Right.
I couldn't put myself in the environment. I did. I worked for a friend's pub for a day. I did some private chef work in London. I needed to do my food my way, because it was a new existence. It was a new way of looking at food, and no one had that understanding other than me.
Yeah.
So I had to do my own place. My sister understood that. We found a spot in Leigh that came up for grabs, and it was a dump. It was an absolute dump. And I'm saying, like, physically, we got in there, it was, it was been trashed. It needed a lot of work, but I saw the potential in it. My sister saw the potential of it. We had enough money there to create what I wanted to create, a little restaurant that basically is what it is today. No menu, local, seasonal, organic, from local farms, and it's healing people, and it's healing me while I'm doing it. And there's no nasty chemicals in the kitchen. There's the environment is it's a peaceful environment where we can focus on creating, food that is healthy, and an environment that facilitates that as well. So what I mean by that is that, we create a menu, and there's just like no stress. And it's whatever the suppliers have, whatever the farmer has, we just write it and we create it, and there's no menu. And whatever changes, it changes, and it doesn't have to be a certain way. So that way, I've never been taught that way. I've never been shown that way. I've never had a mentor that's shown that way, but I knew deep in my heart I was that, and I needed to create that for me to be happy in the workplace. And
it sounds like, from your previous experience and what you said earlier, when you was learning, it's about learning what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like allowing your own creativity to come through, and know that all of that stuff that you've done, although it made lots of money, it don't serve you anymore. So
yeah, and
it's interesting that essence coming through into what you're doing and what you've created.
That's exactly it, Steve. It's about I found who I am in myself, what I want to be, what I am, what is my essence, as you said, and that needs to be in my environment at all times. So there's a certain non-negotiable, I like to call it, what I can't, there's in the industry, is like there's jobs coming up now. It's like, oh, you can go and do this for a good amount of money. I just can't do that unless it's something that's truly connecting with me. And it's some people don't understand it. I feel like that's what I needed to create in the restaurant. And then I can be happy in that space, because when I was going to work in other places, or even doing private chef work, I'm doing food that they want me to do for them, I was just disconnecting from myself. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I'd been so disconnected before, which caused that health brain tumour, the health the brain tumour that I had, that I couldn't go back.
Yeah, and it's such a valuable point, because I think, you know, we are so conditioned by the externals of life and the expectations of what we believe, and become our belief systems of what's successful and what works. And what I'm hearing is your journey is like, you know, you've gone through all of that stuff, and my journey is the same. I mean, you know, I kind of went through whatever I went through, business, had a good business, and now I kind of like a very, very simple, very unstressful life, and I think it's the value of that is just so rich, and to put that out, because people are really still trapped in that whole, like, I need to get on this, and this is the next one, and, you know, just chasing, and what I see when I'm talking to you is just a real deep peace and a contentment with self, and you know, that journey home, which people maybe don't even know what that is, but I think you're kind of, you know, we're getting to that, we're describing that journey, and in that journey, I think there's a massive letting go of stuff that doesn't work, isn't there?
Oh yeah, and it's constant, Steve. The letting go. There's always I think that is also the work of. I love that now. I'm dealing with that in other things right now. There's many deaths in life, you know. I think that's what it comes down to. There's many moments that we're dying, and resisting and holding on to that. That's what causes some irritation, frustration, and letting the energy of life flow through us. It's always. I see it. It's always testing us. You know, to not, as Muji would say, the spiritual guru Muji, you know, don't take shape, don't hold on. Basically, what he's saying is, you know, whatever experience is flowing through us, to not take shape in that, to not hold. And I love that saying, because we do that. We can do that because it's like a fear of losing something for what, when actually we have everything within us. So to get to that stage, it's a journey of getting to that stage, and that's the journey I've been on. And I think now I look at things that I have, let's say, like my restaurant and physical things in the world. And, you know, I've let them go, you know, I've let them go in a way where I'm not attached to it, and I can enjoy it for what it is. And I feel at peace with that. Like, and, you know, if I lose that, I lose that, you know. And I think from that place, it becomes more, number one, you enjoy it more. And also there's less, what's the word, like resistance in you, like less tension. Yeah, I find that really interesting, that whole process that you was talking about, you know, really, which is, as I said, relinquishing control, and just by tuning into what's available, and not, you know, not having that regimented idea of it's got to be like this. And, you know, and that shows the difference in where you are and where you've come from as well, and just that whole process of not needing to control it all. And in business, I think it's fascinating that you know, when you can actually achieve that in a business, and align to your deeper kind of sense of change, and your deeper sense of, like, you know, going home. What does that look like in how you live your life, and what you're doing, and how you're interacting with people? I think it's it shows, doesn't it? Because quite often I think a lot of people have certain ideas, but when they go out there and engage in life, it looks very differently to how they appreciate it to look. But I think, you know, that whole journey with tuning into the food, and it being more about healing, more about, you know, holistic, is
It's just it's a great expression of you, you know, learning to be you and then living that truth, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's yeah. What does that feel like to you, living the truth?
Yeah, it's freeing, I think, Steve. I think it is freeing. I think, like, just going back to what you were saying about, the conditioning and letting go. I think that in itself, there's a journey in that, because there's also a few, there's trust. So, example, my team in the restaurant, let's do one example. To let go, you need to trust, right? They sort of go hand in hand. Trust that everything is going to work out. But you can't do that naively, or like letting go. It's not like letting go, oh, don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. It's not letting go like that. It's letting go of the control of the control of the business of controlling people.
And I think, I mean, I really resonate with that in my business. I had to learn to do that, and I learned it through practicing the spiritual principles from a 12-step program, actually. Which was so valuable, you know, that relinquishing the need to control and micromanage the outcome.
Yeah.
And so you still have an agency in that, you know, you've set your intentions, and there's a certain structure that people are expected to achieve and work towards within their own capacity of being themselves, and that mechanism of just letting go of that. And I'll share it here. I'm kind of writing about it at the moment.
Do.
The mechanism for me was you know, when I was building my business, it was like I'd go out and I'd estimate a job, or I'd quote a job. And back then I was like a typewriter. I didn't even have a computer. But, you know, as soon as I put that thing in a post box, the mental obsession would kick in about, I should have put in more money, or I should have, I put too much money in for that, or I didn't put enough. And it just used to go on for months and months and months until I found out whether I got the job or not.
Yeah.
And then one day when I put the thing in the post box, the penny drops, and I thought, that's my bit done. You know, the need to control the outcome of whether I get that job or not is beyond me, and it was like it was
beautiful.
a really tangible mechanism for me.
Your bit done. I love that.
Yeah, and kind of like in business, that's what you're talking about, is like, how do you get that balance where you know, you want to achieve a standard, especially coming from where you've come from, and then, but you relinquish the need to control the outcome of that.
Yeah.
Although, you know, it's you trust. You know, you have to learn to trust, and
and I
have
think
faith in that process.
Have faith and have trust in the decisions that you've made. For example, if you've hired a head chef, knowing that he is the right person to be a head chef, and that I don't need to be that. So it's like, I don't need to control him. He is the right person for that job.
Yeah.
So that allows that trust and that space to let go of that. And I've come from a background, and my family is quite the opposite to that. So a lot of that work of letting go has been ingrained in me to control, and that I need to do it myself for it to be how I want it to be. You can't get anyone else to do it, that narrative.
Yeah.
So for me, the key is, and I've learned that on my journey of who I've worked for and the standard I've worked for, is to train people, employ people with the right level, and then let go. And actually, it's actually easy. Yeah. The process is easy then, because you set the boundaries that they also need to meet. So there's always mistakes, and you always, you know, I've had a lot of pain, and in terms of like, I've had people let me down. I've tried to let go before, and I didn't hire the right person, and I got hurt in terms of they're going behind your back and stealing things and all this kind of stuff.
I've had that in a big way in business.
Right.
And I think that's just part of business, isn't it?
But we need to learn from that, don't we? And it's like, you have to learn from that if you want to keep going forward. And I think that's what it's about. And I've learned that trust, but make sure that person is worthy of that trust. And then we can just be free.
Yeah.
I think that's vital. In my business, I think most businesses is similar. I think there's a similar similar process with that letting go. And I think it is easy then. But you need to have done that work of knowing that just letting of just knowing yourself and what.
Well, I think it's that recognition of what is conditioning and what has been inherited.
Yeah.
And the belief system that you grew up with based upon that conditioning, their messages that learnt behaviour or enforced behaviour quite often from parents, or as you was talking about earlier in your earlier restaurateur environment of training, all of that enforced stuff is like, when you recognise that actually this gear doesn't serve me, it doesn't work for me.
What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
Where's that come from? And that's it's a narrative, it's a pattern, it's a conditioning, and I want to change that. And I need to change that, and actually that will help me be free. That is it, isn't it? And I think with that level of awareness, we can begin that.
Yeah, and you just demonstrated there is, in that bit of conversation, it all comes down to the actions that we then take.
Yeah.
Because once we've got that knowledge and then it is a bit of faith or a bit of trust. But trust is like is the kind of transition between what you feel and getting to that point of actually taking the action to let go. That's
it can be a bit scary to put it into place, right? But again, trust yourself, and maybe trust grace that you're being looked after. That's also the other thing, right?
Yeah,
that we're always being looked after, no matter what. If it does go wrong, many things have gone wrong for me. There's nothing wrong with that. They're the great learnings, wrong or challenges or mistakes. But actually, that's all part of it, and it will happen in the future. But I think when you're in your center and you're connected and you know yourself more, there's no fear there.
Yeah.
There's no fear there. It's just you love other people, being involved more, and you love what you're creating.
And that's it. It's about creating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about I think attuning or tuning into what that means for you. And I spoke about living your truth. It's actually, allowing that to manifest in your life and in the world. And just looking back on the journey of life, thinking of mine as I was thinking of yours as well, with your health issues and stuff, and the stuff that I've been through, and I suppose when you get that lens to look back, it's like, well, it all worked out okay, There's some difficult bits for sure, and some painful bits, but even now I think, well, I needed the pain. The pain in a lot of ways woke me up to that I was conditioned, and that I was dancing around on the surface of my life where the deep motivations, I didn't even know what they was.
No. And
it's kind of like when you get a chance to move that stuff out of the way, and then it actually manifests in your life. I walked away from the business and all of the stuff that I was doing and simplified life. And you've still got your business, but I know your energies are moving into, your life in Mexico and the stuff that you want to do there, which is more, attuned to who you are really, and that kind of, I know, just like let's let people know about your kind of stuff that you're creating in Mexico and what you want to do.
I think it's a deepening.
The deepening, yeah.
That's all I always look at it as a deepening, and for me, food has been a massive part of my journey, and I love it. I love food, in every healthy food. I love how it's healed me, and I really feel going deep into that is something that I connect with and I can learn more from, and I feel like other people actually are in a state where they need to learn more from as well, for where we are, like in this epidemic of disease, physically, mentally and emotionally, you know. So I think it's not just serving me, keeping me strong, healthy and alive, but actually for other people it's going to be beautiful.
I mean, it's just so needed, isn't it? I mean, and I know people are becoming more aware of their nutrition, of their gut health, and all of this kind of stuff. But you know, when you look, and I saw something the other day which was shocking, really, but really quite enlightening as well. And someone had posted a picture of, you know, a typical beach in the 60s, and then a beach today, and the size of the people on the beach today compared to the size and the shape of the people in the 60s was just profound, you know.
Yeah.
There's so many people, like, you know, are just overweight and you know, and it's all been down to the food process, hasn't it? Most of it is down to the food process. No, it is, Steve. It is food I think I reflect on this a lot. I think we've been fed a lie. A lot of it is, you know, the food system is feeding a lie. And, you know, it's really unfortunate. It's criminal what the system is doing, you know, the food system, what they're recommending and what they're saying that people should or shouldn't eat. But actually, the answer is just connecting with ourselves deeply to understand what we really need in this being. So there is no one way to eat. Everyone is so different. We're all unique, and like I've learned this on my journey. Is like I've gone through it all, like different diets and stuff, and I'm seasonal. That's what I've worked out. I am seasonal. We all are seasonal, and we are all unique beings, and that is going to mean different to everyone. There are some, you know, areas of nutrition that we need to, you know, kind of like follow, you know, like, you know, less refined foods, no fast foods, good fats, you know, healthy meat, protein, that kind of thing, grass-fed, you know, natural. But in terms of you should be this, you should be vegan, you should be carnivore, it is nonsense. Yeah.
I believe, because we are seasonal. Like, for an example, I went, and because I help people, I coach and I do a lot of food coaching and things like that. I did a carnivore diet for a month. I wanted to see how I felt. Oh, I felt so good, energized. I had steak and salt and water for the whole month.
Right.
It was incredible. I felt completely energized, and I thought I'll keep on doing this. But after, I think it was a few weeks afterwards, I just felt like, I felt in my being I needed to lighten it up.
Something different, yeah.
So, and then I'm connecting. Sometimes I feel like a soup in the evening. Sometimes I feel like a salad. And I've realised, coming back to the UK now, I feel like something, you know, a little bit more heavier, like soups and stuff also in the day. So I think connecting with ourselves and understanding we are seasonal, and that's how we've evolved actually physically. We are that. It's really been profound for me, like my learning and understanding that, you can be carnivore for a month and it'll work, but it doesn't mean to say it's going to work the whole time.
And I think that is the essence of our growth, isn't it? It's like, you know, in going back to that control thing, it's like we want to nail something down, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, generally speaking, like as a society, you know, we're being sold like if we nail this down, you're going to be okay. But we're constantly changing. The environment's constantly changing. You know, we need to flow with the environment. We need to flow with what we need and what our body's telling us. And, you know, I think, you know, the work that you're doing, you know, you was just telling me before this about, you know, going and doing these kind of like food in people's environments and
Yeah.
and kind of just ceremonial type
Yeah.
dining in the work you're doing out there in Mexico,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's basically connecting people with in a more intimate setting with the food, like I do in the restaurant. We do there, and creating a deeper connection, let's say, with food.
Yeah.
But you can only really do that in, intimate. In a restaurant, we do it to the best of our ability. But when people are asking for that service, when people are checking in with you, then they obviously want that.
Yeah.
And that is, it can be from 2 to 12 people. It's engaging. We talk about the food, we talk about the dishes, we talk about where it's come from, we talk about the health benefits, we connect with them. There's a spiritual, ceremonial aspect of cleaning the space as well. So we're going a bit deeper into it, and I love that, because for me that is, that's what makes me happy now, is able to share that knowledge, and the people are wanting to receive that. I think in the restaurant you're more open to the public, so it's difficult.
I mean, it's wonderful that, just kind of following the trajectory of your journey and where it kind of, where you began and how you kind of expanded outwards and, into all of that, fame and fortune and that kind of stuff with what you've done. And then how, as your life's kind of changed and you've more attuned to your life, you've learned some big lessons in life and it's kind of become deeper and it's become more about, what doesn't work and we spoke about conditioning and control. And now that's kind of like the action of that is moving into your food and being of service and education for people on a deeper level. And it kind of reflects for me, this mindfulness that is become a big buzz thing about people just paying more attention to the present and enjoying what we've got rather than, how much it costs or what it looks like or who we can tell about it. Do you know what I mean? All of that kind of stuff that once again goes back into like the ego side of life and what I see and what I hear is, you're tuning into your intuitive part of, who you are, where you come from, what you're about. And the work to do that, I know is hard work because I've been doing it for years. Yeah. And just then to start living it and putting it out there in what you do is...
Yeah, I think that's the is start living it, isn't it? It's start putting it out there and... Yeah, that is then the work where we can share with others. And I see I've been doing that with the restaurant, but I'm excited about the new things that are coming where, as I say, we can start to begin going deeper as we are going deeper as a collective. So I think it's necessary to be able to share that. Yeah.
I think it's necessary. It's so valuable, and just to give ourselves permission to change the way that we live, and change the way that we used to externally value ourselves to now how we attune to our deeper value and know that is the truth. This is the truth that we can live, and everyone can do that.
What an opportunity! What
a beautiful opportunity!
Yeah.
What an amazing opportunity!
Yeah, that's the gift we've been given, actually.
It is. And what do you do with that gift? When you realise that you've got that and you've done that work, then it becomes about giving it out there, sharing it.
Yeah.
Which
is
what you were talking about in your work and setting up your community out there. And
yeah, really excited to be working towards that, a retreat space, community, homestead. And I think it's like I said to you, Steve, that's just a beautiful project that I believe in. That is, it's not even it's almost like a requirement. I can feel that it's a requirement, that it's my purpose is needed for myself, but for other people to come into that space. So that's the next part of the journey.
and how exciting is that to be open to the next part of the journey, and
So
not
good.
to be, you know, as you've said, not to be attached to it, but just to be like, okay, anything's possible here.
Yeah.
If I step into this,
Yeah.
if I find this edge of what's new in my life and let go of the fear,
Yeah.
let go of the conditioning, let
That
go
is
of
it.
being trapped and you know, and evolve.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Let it flow.
Let it flow. John, it's been absolutely amazing chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks,
And
Steve.
I know that there's probably so much more we could go into, but maybe another time, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
once you're up and running out there and we can
You
chat
can come
about
to
that.
Mexico.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
No, thank you so much as well, Steve. Really,
John, it's
really
been
nice to see you
amazing.
again.
John, where can people follow you, or where can people contact you? Or
Yeah, I've got Instagram, Chef John Lawson. Probably the main. I've got a bit of content on there. Yeah.
and
I'd
your
say-
restaurant in Leeds?
Yes, I'm a restaurant in Leeds, Food Lee on Sea. It's on Lee Road. So yeah, they're the places I'd sort of you can check in with me. Yeah, I'm
Brilliant.
not there too much these days. So I'm living in Mexico, but beautiful food there.
And it's
in
in
the
good
restaurant.
hands.
It's in good hands.
Intuitively in good hands.
Intuitively, exactly.
Yeah, wonderful. John, been brilliant chatting with you.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Anything else you want to just bring to the table before we wrap it up? Or
No, all good. Yeah, just been a pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting me on, Steve.
been
And,
a pleasure. Pleasure
Yeah,
having you.
lovely to connect again, mate.
Yeah, lots of love, my friend.
Yeah, you
Cheers,
too,
man.
mate.